All right, any minute now, we're expecting President Biden to have comments eulogizing Sandra Day O'Connor. We are going to go to that live as soon as the president steps up to the podium. We'll at least take part of his comments about the justice who has, obviously laid in repose for the last couple of days, and the funeral is happening this morning. We start off with this is about the 118th Congress has the fewest laws to show for it in its first year. When I first saw this, I didn't necessarily think this was a bad thing. I don't necessarily think the Congress is being productive by making new laws, but they haven't done much of anything, and so people are disappointed. Who is the most unpopular leader in Washington, D.C.? Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said Monday that he's encouraged by the ongoing negotiations. Well, that's terrific, but who is their least favorite? And it is Mitch McConnell. According to the poll, 6% of adults say they approve of Senator Mitch McConnell's job performance, with a whopping 60% saying they disapprove. 34% had no opinion. This is one of those, one of the topics that I love to talk about. Congress is immensely unpopular, but by nature they should be. Collectively, we are not happy with the performance of the United States Congress, but we do have, usually, if you're a voter, you have an opinion about the person specifically in your district. And that is those, especially in the House, those leaders get reelected at a huge percentage, which is fascinating. When as a body, it's immensely unpopular. So in your small district, I like the person that represents me, he or she. I like who represents me, but your people are terrible. You guys suck. My guy is the good guy in there. And it's weird that we don't change people. I've been trying to say this. You're never going to change the rules we make. You're never going to change the direction we go when the same people vote for the same people. It makes perfect sense. The same voters vote for the same officials in elections, and what ends up happening time after time is nothing gets changed. Nothing's any different. They cater to the group of people that walk the neighborhoods and get signatures and wear the T-shirts and make the phone calls and raise the money and write the checks. But that's human nature. That's how it should be. When people hate this show, when I get emails from people, I will never listen to your show again. First of all, I think you're lying. I think that you're going to listen to see if we say something back to you. But even if that's true, why do I care? If you've never listened to my show, if you hate me, why do I care? I'm going to cater, and we found out President Biden is approaching the podium, so let's go to the president.
To the O'Connor family, my wife Jill and I send our love on behalf of a truly grateful nation for her service. I'm humbled to be asked to speak today. To the members of the clergy, the Chief Justice, Justice of the Supreme Court, past and present, members of the bench and bar, members of the Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans. More than 40 years ago, on a Wednesday in September 1981, the Senate Judiciary Committee came to order. I was the ranking member of that committee, and the day's business was momentous. The nomination of Sandra Day O'Connor to become the first woman in American history to serve as a Supreme Court Justice on the United States Supreme Court. Announcing her nomination earlier that summer, President Reagan described her as, and I quote, "a person for all seasons." And it was a person for all seasons who we saw at that hearing, and the Americans and the world would see through her extraordinary service as a justice, and I might add, as a citizen. Gracious and wise, civil and principled, Sandra Day O'Connor, the daughter of the American West, was a pioneer in her own right, breaking down the barriers in legal and political worlds and the nation's consciousness. To her, the Supreme Court was bedrock, the bedrock of America. It was the vital line of defense for the values and the vision of our republic devoted not to pursuit of power for power's sake, but to make real the promise of America. The American promise that holds that we're all created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. The High Court, she said in her opening statement, and I quote, is a body to which all Americans look for the ultimate protection of their rights. It is the United States Supreme Court that we all turn when we seek that which we want most from our government, equal justice under law, end of quote. Equal justice under law is the noblest aspiration of humankind, and the aspiration of Sandra Day O'Connor, one that she pursued her whole life. The last justice to have held elective office, she was especially conscious of the law's real impact on people's lives. One need not agree with all her decisions in order to recognize that her principles were deeply held and of the highest order, and that her desire for civility was genuine, and her trust in the capacity of human institutions to make life better is what this world was abiding. And how she embodied such attributes under such pressure and scrutiny helped empower generations of women in every part of American life, including the court itself, helping to open doors, secure freedoms, and prove that a woman can not only do anything a man can do, but many times do it a heck of a lot better. Excuse my language, Father. Beyond the bench, Justice O'Connor valued the civic life of the nation, in our schools, in our community centers, in families, and in our friendships. Yes, America is the land of rugged individualists, adventurers, and entrepreneurs. But she knew no person is an island. In the fabric of our nation, we're all inextricably.
You've been listening to the comments from President Biden. We are going to obviously have more of this, and you'll be hearing highlights as the day goes on. It's an explanation here. This just gives you an example of the impact that Sandra Day O'Connor had on the Supreme Court and on society in general, being the first woman on the Supreme Court, opening up doors for women, and that is what the theme has been for so many people. Not only her hard work and dedication and being so impartial and an excellent justice, but also understanding that she was a trailblazer and that there were many people that were looking at her successes or her failures in ways as how women should be great leaders, and she did an excellent job of that. The President of the United States and many others honoring her today. So that is the funeral that is going on for Justice Sandra Day O'Connor.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.